It is Friday, October 25th, 2019. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a very fun Get Your Ass Kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Friday. We did a little bit of stuff today that I can't remember for some stupid fucking reason. I think it's because the last two rounds were pretty much sparring. We started off with a little positional sparring, and then we moved on to standing sparring, which is good. I like sparring. I didn't get my ass kicked too much today, although I did learn, or remember, rather, a useful little trick for Gied Jiu-Jitsu, and it's something you can't depend on 100% of the time. But I did find out a interesting trick. If somebody's got your back, right, and they're trying to cinch it up, right, so they've got their left hand on your left lapel and they're pulling it straight so that they can line it up really good for their right hand to get that up as far as they can, and then get that choke in, right? Well, I found out that if you grab your gi lapel below where your opponent has their hands, and you pull the lapel straight, okay, you pull it as hard as you can straight, and you push your neck back. You push your neck back and pull down with your arm, right? And what that does is it puts a little bit of pressure on your gi, and it pulls it around to where you have just enough slack to where he can't fully choke you out. And so I ended up in a back take position, and I was trying to take it easy because my left arm has really been bugging me. It's funny, it's like I've got all kinds of people wrenching on it and trying to break it and trying to hyperextend it and all this other shit, right? But does that hurt it? No. What hurts it is this kid coming in for a double leg, and I reached down with my left hand to block it, and he hit my hand with his shoulder or something like that, and I don't know why. It was at the right angle, and I just felt this massive twinge of pain in my bicep. It didn't tear or anything like that, but it was ever since then it's hurt. And I don't know if it was one of those unguarded moments or what, where he tapped it the right way and I bruised a tendon or some shit like that. I don't know. But it's been kind of hard holding people off on that arm and whatnot since. And so today I took it easy. I wasn't putting a whole lot of energy out and trying to really conserve, and so when we were doing positional sparring with the person on my back, I like I said, I just kept it really low energy, and was just trying to stay alive mostly. I'll be honest. But I did roll with this kid Sebastian. He's a little bit smaller than me, and it's funny because he complains about his size. The kid's 17 years old. He's a fucking wire. Okay? I mean, strong as hell, wiry as fuck, and he runs circles around you. The only reason why he doesn't destroy me every single time is because I've got 30 years of experience on him and about, 60, 70 pounds. That's it. If I were his age, I'd be fucking doomed. Fucking doomed. Okay, if I didn't have the level of experience I have, and he's complaining about, I wish I wasn't my size. I'm like, fuck, dude, I wish I was your size. If I was your size and your age, I would destroy every motherfucker that I came up against that was my size and my age. Either or, somebody older than me that's my size, destroy them. Somebody that's my age but maybe bigger than me, maybe a little bit bigger than me, I'll fucking destroy him. If I was as fast and as strong as this kid, I would destroy motherfuckers. And so it's funny, he's complaining about that. I'm like, God damn, dude. I asked him, I go, how old are you? He's like 17. I'm like, fuck, you're not even done growing yet. You know, you're going to grow another 2 to 3 inches taller, probably another 3 to 4 inches wider. You know, your musculature will come in. And if it keeps going like this, by the time you're like 22, you're going to be fucking killing people. And so he kind of grinned to himself and whatever. And he's very, very kind of modest, a little bit shy, but vicious little bugger. And so, I told him one time, I go, dude, I feel sorry for anybody in your size and weight class. I feel sorry for them. Because they have to go up against you, and he's like, oh, but I don't want to be my size. There'll be time, kid. There'll be time. There's plenty of time to learn how to take on bigger people. And if he keeps doing what he is doing right now, he's got the heart. I'll just say that. He's got the heart and the determination for it. And he's certainly got the conditioning for it. You know, not everybody has it. And I mean, this kid, when I look at him, he's like a born wrestler. I mean, you just look at some people and like their shoulder base to their height, to their weight ratio, their center of balance, the length of their limbs or stuff. There's just some people that are just built for wrestling. This kid was built for wrestling. He shot out of his mom's womb with a fucking singlet on and fucking ear covers. He was ready to go from the get-go, and he still is. And like I said, when I look at him, I definitely see prize fighter material as far as, you know, if he were to get into a serious MMA thing or even jiu-jitsu. You know, that's something that is coming up, and I think that's one of the reasons why I pursue it at all is that jiu-jitsu has been coming into itself as far as a spectator sport in and of itself. It's like if you like MMA, you will love jiu-jitsu. You know, it's like the difference between drinking grape juice and drinking fine wine. You know, one is a slightly more cultured taste and whatever, but it's like the best parts of MMA in the grappling / wrestling / submission kind of area. And so, like I said, when I look at some people these days, I'm just like, this kid is fucking made for it. This guy's made for it. This girl is made for it. That they've got the right build and they've got the right mentality and the right body for it. That if they just applied, you know, 3 to 4 hours a day, you know, and just put it to it, that they could easily get there. And there's one gentleman in our gym, other than the one that I'm talking about, who he puts in the time. Every single time I'm in the gym, he is there, and he reminds me a lot of Hickson. When I watch him move and whatnot, he's like a really young Hickson, except he's a little more playful, you know, a little more, I want to say aloof, you know, but he's humble enough that it's not a real big attitude issue. You know, he's very determined though. And when you get him in a fighting situation, just forget about it. You know, I mean, the only assurance that I have is that we're not competing for a fucking medal when I'm in that room with him. Because if we were, I know I'd be in a lot more trouble. I know that I'd be a lot less competitive for him. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down into some music. And as far as where to go, it's got to be Talk Shit, Get Shot. First Dance here on Coin Metal. And that was a little Skindred there, a little bit further along than I'd wanted to go. But I had to make some adjustments, you know. I had to get that matte funk off of my body, because as much as I love my gym partners, I don't want to bring their funk home and keep it stewing on my body while I'm sitting here doing the show, you know? Yeah, seems everybody likes the pick of the the good old Asclepius. If you aren't on yen.io, I would suggest that you check it out. It's pretty damn cool. It's I've recently been kicked off of Twitter. I don't know for how long or if that's permanent or whatever, but I think it's kind of a dangerous precedent. You know, I've been on that platform since 2008, 2009, and I've never been suspended for this long before. And I'll tell you what, the thing I got suspended for, if you ask me for it, I'll send it to you, is such fucking bullshit. You know, somebody, I guess Antifa was doing something somewhere, and they'd gotten up in, one guy had gotten up in the face of this little old lady trying to cross the street with a fucking walker. And that kind of pissed me off. You know, it's like, if you want to protest somebody, you want to talk shit to somebody, pick somebody your own size. Picking on a little old fucking lady, that's just bullshit. So anyway, I expressed something to that effect, you know, that I thought Antifa was shit, you know, that's all I really had to see of them, that, you know, because they don't have any respect for the elderly, apparently, and, or at least that gentleman didn't. You know, it set the tenor for me, you know. I'm like, dude, if this is fucking Antifa, fuck them, you know. And I said, you know, if this is Antifa, you know, I think they all deserve to get socked. And you know, I don't think that's really controversial, man. I mean, if somebody's getting up in the face of little old ladies, wouldn't you want to sock somebody? That you watch somebody get up in your grandmother's face, wouldn't you want to put that little fucker on his ass? I know I would. Anyway, it wasn't advocating violence towards anybody or anything like that. Just saying an opinion. And specifically, I put in there, think. I didn't say go out there and fucking beat the fuck out of Antifa or anything like that. I said think. I think they ought to. And so somebody reported me, and they called it targeted harassment. Let me tell you something. I am other than this little incident, I am probably the single most blocked person on crypto Twitter, specifically amongst the quote unquote maximalists. And it's, but you know, I'm one of those rare people that's been blocked by Andreas Antonopoulos, Bryce Wiener, and Craig Wright. I mean, if you know who these people are and you've been involved in crypto, you're like, dude, that's like the trifecta, right? So anyway, I've been the victim of a lot of targeted harassment, you know, where like people have blocked me and I've never interacted with them ever, you know, but I look through certain threads and I find people that, you know, again, I've never interacted with, but I can't see their shit. That means they've got me blocked. What does that tell you? It tells me that there's at least a semi-coordinated campaign to, hey, ignore this guy. This guy's talking a bunch of shit we don't like. You know, but you got to remember, we are talking about money when we're talking about cryptocurrencies. So if people are blocking me, chances are I'm like letting the cat out of the bag on their sales bullshit, and they don't want the fucking rubes to know. That's how it's always been in crypto. Always. As a matter of fact, I think it's pretty much been that way for money, period. That it's always been that way for money, that, you know, there's little omissions made, and if somebody clues people in, oh, you've got to silence that fucker, you know, because don't want to let people in on the fact that they really don't have to give their control over to us, but they're choosing to because they don't know any better. You know, I swear, it's really funny. We were talking about FinCEN last time around, and I specifically just closed the article because I didn't want to get back into it. But he was saying something to the effect of, we're basically going to start enforcing those money transmitter laws at the federal level. So all you little monkeys in the United States that have states, your state government has money transmitting laws, if you're not following them, they fucking go after you for your fucking Lightning Network shit. Any of that off-chain shit, that's what they're going to start going after. You know, I think it's so hilarious that people can't seem to get around this. Like, if I were to set up a retail outlet, that's like my plan as far as a crypto business goes. I'd be interested in like setting up a Craigslist / I'm not going to describe the whole thing anyway. The point being that I wouldn't be handling any of the fucking money. It would just be like merchants and you, right? So kind of like Silk Road, I'll just say. But not for drugs. You know, or at least as far as I'm concerned, it's not drugs. But see, I won't handle your shit either. You know, I'll like host your images. I might host an address for you to receive payment on. But I leave the commerce completely up to you. And of course, you'll pay me just a little bit, but only for hosting. Fuck everything else. I mean, I'm not like giving anything really big away right there. But, you know, the fact of the matter is that that's really the depth of the involvement I intend to have, except for in the case of my own items that I feature on the website. I would be free to do that. See, I envision that retail is going to take a different turn in the near future. That the amount of regulatory cruft and bullshit on average everyday retail is so much, and the market has been taken so much away from the participants in it. You know, like 60-70% of every transaction you do goes to parties other than you and the intended person. So say, how do I get this one to you? Say gasoline, right? So you're the end beneficiary concerned here would be the gas station owner. He wants to make a profit on the gas, right? So a gallon of gasoline for him selling it is $2.50. I actually bought it for $1.80, and a good portion of that was taxes too. But as far as that transaction goes, you know, that $1.80 to $2.50, he's making 70 cents, right? Well, he's not really making 70 cents because like 30 cents of that goes to various taxes and whatnot, between income taxes. And so, like, what if there was a way for you to delete the state and the federal government and all the little bullshit fees? Like, have you ever looked at your phone bill for your cell phone and you look at all the little taxes and shit in there? Like, what if you could pay just like AT&T the money that like went to them out of that? So like out of your $23.59 bill, $17.43 was actually going to AT&T, and the rest of it was going to fucking bullshit tax. Like, what if you could pay AT&T directly that $17 and change and delete everybody else? Well, see, cryptocurrencies allow that. All you need is an image and a description of what the fucking thing is, and you'd be like, well, you know, I like that. Yeah, I'll pay, you know, $10 for that. What do you think, man? And so, like, when you do it like that, though, there are ways that they keep track of the transaction and shit. Like, if you're doing it in credit cards, they're keeping track of your bank records and all that bullshit. But if you did it with cryptocurrencies and you didn't have your name explicitly associated with the cryptocurrency address or explicitly with the device that you're using at all,
no one's the wiser as far as who the payee is. Now, they might know who the sender is if they bother, but if we're talking about things that aren't really national security, and when I say national security, I'm not talking about the viability of the market at large. I don't give a fuck about that. As far as I'm concerned, I am the market at large, so there, fuck you. I'm talking about things like bombs and guns going to terrorist organizations and shit like that. Like, if you could just, cut that out of your concern. Don't worry about the fact that, yes, somewhere, somebody has an intention to buy a bomb, somebody has an intention to buy a gun, doesn't want anybody to know about it, will probably use whatever means available to them toward those ends. That is not the fault of any of the means that they use. And eliminating the means also eliminating the means for other people, including yourself. If it's more useful to you than the threat represented by the possibility of a terrorist using it, then it's actually a detriment to you to ban it. Why would you do that? So anyway, as far as what we're going to get into today, seems President Xi shares my sentiment with regard to cryptocurrencies, and so here it is. This is on Coindesk.com, and it's by William Foxley. Man, the volume is a little bit high on the music there. I don't like competing with it too much. I like when I get a little bit of feedback from my voice, and then I know everything is synced up right. Okay, so here it is. President Xi says China should seize opportunity to adopt blockchain. Now, I already know that Z is full of shit because he's talking about blockchain. Blockchain is bullshit. Remember that. Anyway, this is by William Foxley, so yes, penis. It was authored October 25th, 2019 at 11:12 UTC. Xi Jinping, President of the People's Republic of China, looking like Winnie Pooh, and General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, said the country needs to, quote, seize the opportunity afforded by blockchain technology. Speaking as part of the 18th collective study of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee on Thursday in Beijing, Xi said that blockchain technology has a wide array of applications within China, listing topics ranging from finance businesses to mass transit to poverty alleviation. Quote, "We must take the blockchain as an important breakthrough for independent innovation of core technologies," Xi told committee members. Xi, if you only understood, a reliable blockchain is sourced from your people acting independently of you. No instruction by you, no mandate from you. Continuing on, quote, "We must clarify the main direction, increase investment, focus on a number of key core technologies, and accelerate the development of blockchain technology and industrial innovation." Yeah, you're not going to do any of those things. The Chinese president's statements on blockchain are believed to be his first in-depth remarks on the technology. Xi further said it would be, quote, "necessary to implement the rule of law network into existing and future blockchain systems." Yeah, you're not going to do that. To this end, Xi argued for a top-down approach concerning implementation, calling for guidance and regulation. Xi said testing of the tech should be widespread, including the investments in training platforms and, quote, "innovation teams" before implementation. His speech called for the creation of a, quote, "blockchain plus," a platform alluding to personal development such as education, employment, and food and medicinal safety, among other basic needs. Since a 2017 decision by the People's Bank of China, cryptocurrencies are banned in the country, although digital renminbi is being developed by the central bank and likely to launch soon. Yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit. Let me, oh shit. I was hoping to find the actual speech by this monkey. Xi, you're wrong, Winnie the Pooh. And I don't know, you only kind of look like that. My apologies for the disrespect, sir. But check it out. The fact of the matter is that it's your people being able to operate independently from you that makes the blockchain quote-unquote viable. It is the fact that they are competing against one another and against us and against the rest of the fucking planet for that block reward that makes the blockchain quote-unquote viable, secure, gives it any kind of integrity. You cannot take that away or replace that with some sort of bullshit mandate. And that's been the thrust of every regulatory body. And I think that the United States is... The different contrast here is that they're focusing on goods and products as the regulation point. So it's like, you know, they'll say things like, no, you can't have ETFs. No Bitcoin-based ETFs. Fuck you, you can't have them. But that's only because they already have a regulatory system in place for ETFs, and they say if it fits this, then it's an ETF, and if you can't fit this, then it's not an ETF. And there are certain expectations we have of Bitcoin and you as a custodian that you cannot match yet. That's why you can't have a fucking ETF. And I'm almost positive it's got something to do with reserves. You know, that there are entities that want to do completely naked ETFs. You know, that they don't actually have possession of Bitcoin and they don't actually have possession of volumes of dollars. But they have the ability to create tokens and keep track of them. And so they want to use those as ETFs. And they, like I said, that they don't have the liquidity requirements on either end of the trade. And so that's, you know. Anyway, I mean, you only have to look to like Bakkt and a few other heavily regulated entities that are trying to do heavily regulated financial activities with crypto and, you know, alongside of crypto, and the kind of difficulties that they're running into. And this is entirely predictable. We've known it this entire time. If you bothered to read the white paper, you would understand why it's set up the way it is, and understand why it's incongruent with your fucking market models that you've been trying to impose on it. And Z is going to find that their ideas of regulation are not going to mesh up with cryptocurrencies. And I think at some point they're going to try and fight them again. You know, the idea of offering us something that's state-based as an alternative to this, again, they're missing the point. They're missing the point. Venezuela, again, they have taught us this lesson. The lesson is, do not fuck with crypto. You cannot fuck with the rest of the planet. You can fuck with your people. You can fuck with the policies. You can threaten them and whatever, and they're not necessarily going to comply with you. Because they don't have to, and they can circumvent you. The means are readily available. Don't fuck with crypto. Use it. Hold it. Stack the sats. Do what the fuck we do with it. Do not fuck with it. Use it as money. Quit trying to fucking piggyback everything in the world to it. Or if you are going to piggyback everything in the world to it, do it on public blockchains. Quit jerking us off and telling us that your fucking private little sandbox network is going to provide us the level of security and the level of integrity that we receive from the publicly mined cryptocurrencies. You know, we don't have to know how you associate whatever it is you're doing to a cryptocurrency transaction, but if you do with a cryptocurrency transaction on, like, you know, Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever, that saves you the storage costs of the record itself, And again, we do not need to know the particular association. For all we know, you could have the files that you're associating with that transaction completely encrypted in a format that none of us are aware of, no one outside the Chinese government or whatever, and we wouldn't have the cipher for it, and we would have to break it. If we had access to it. But again, the methodology of use with regard to quote unquote blockchains, from what I can see, is one. There's like some conceptual break here as far as like what the source of cryptocurrencies are. It is not up to governments to dictate to us protocols, and they may at some point. But again, it will be up to the individuals in charge of the hardware as to whether or not they are going to run a certain implementation. And again, if it's a government implementation, likelihood is that whatever transactions you're doing aren't going to be on it anyway. That you'll choose another currency that isn't monitored by the government, isn't sourced by the government, and is impossible to regulate by the government. And that is the world we are living in right now. And as far as I'm concerned, this perspective that I'm reading from here, they think we're living like a decade ago. Anyway, but yeah, so President Z, it's to me, this is capitulation. This is acceptance that you are impotent to fuck with this shit. It's a recognition that whatever you say, whatever's coming out of your mouth, is likely to be divergent from what really happens. And you've left plenty of open space in here for us to do whatever the fuck we're doing, and you pointing at it and saying, "Oh, look, see, it's working." But yeah, again, I think that these people, and when I'm talking about these people, I'm talking about government in general. They're going to continue to apply regulations and whatnot on the choke points that are available to them. So exchanges and things like that. But what they're not going to be able to do is stop this from innovating its way around them. And as much as I disparage Lightning Network, I think, there's a possibility sometime in the future that, as we're going along and they're trying to clamp down on people using it without their permission and whatnot, that there will be entities that are hosting nodes that will be non-compliant and are not going to be tracking you and all that other shit. And that's cool, but their liquidity is going to run out at some point. The possibility that they're captured and their payment channels closed forcibly is there. So my feeling on it, and it's always been this, is that why put Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in a position where the processing of our transactions can be threatened in such a way? And if we grow dependent upon layer 2 solutions and whatnot, that reality becomes bigger and bigger for us. The more divorced we are from our contact to the direct blockchain, the more this is a reality for us. And this too is one of the reasons why it's very important that altcoins exist. Is that we're not restricted solely in Bitcoin to accumulate, store, and spend our monetary value. We have plenty of other means to do it in. And speaking of that, let me get a sip of this. I'm getting a little dry in the throat here, Anyway, we've been talking about this happening for about, let's see, how long have they been talking about this? I want to say the first time I heard about this possibly happening was like back in like 2017, 2018 maybe. It's hard to keep track of some stuff. I mean, I'm not entirely certain when certain things happened, you know, as far as like years and whatnot. I just know the shit happened. My apologies there. So this one, this has been a lesson in governance and how the developers can do whatever they want, but the miners, what the miners do is what really matters. And since a little bit after the DAO fuck up and the rollback that ensued thereafter, Ethereum has been looking at the possibility of going to proof of stake. And they've been threatening to do it for, I want to say, like 3 to 4 years now. Like at least 3 years now. They've been wanting to go to proof of stake. They've been trying to do it, meaning putting out implementations to facilitate that transition for about 2 years now. The developers have. And they have yet to convince the miners that that's a really good idea. Now, they managed to convince them that a lower block reward was a good idea. I think they managed to do that, but the proof of stake transition has been troublesome. They've been trying to do it. They've expected to do it. They've set dates for it to happen before, but it's never happened yet. Matter of fact, they've gone so far as to start talking about Ethereum 2, you know, as if to say, you know, well, fuck you. If you're not going to do what we want you to do, we're just going to fork off of you, right? Well, I think at this point, you know, it's pretty obvious that basically the Ethereum Foundation doesn't have enough mining power supporting them for them to be making top-down decisions. And this is what, you know, why I think, you know, Z is basically full of shit. And like I said, he's allowed himself enough conceptual wiggle room in what he said for them to basically kind of ignore crypto, for crypto to do whatever crypto does, and then for them to be able to point back at it and say, see, it worked. Anyway, continuing on, this is on CoinDesk. And this is them trying to mimetically prepare us for the possibility of a transition to a proof-of-stake Ethereum. 3 ways staking will upend the economics of Ethereum. And this is by Christine Kim, and going by the picture and the name, no penis. Kind of hot, too. Anyway, this is October 25th, 2019 at 8 UTC. The takeaway, and we're not going to read the bullet points because it always summarizes the article. As Ethereum undergoes a major upgrade in 2020, how might the economics of the second largest blockchain begin to shift? The next major iteration of Ethereum, dubbed Ethereum 2.0, will be based on proof-of-stake consensus protocol. This means that transactions on the blockchain will be processed and validated by users who stake wealth as opposed to miners who expend energy. People who stake on Ethereum's proof-of-stake network, known as validators, are rewarded by earning annualized interest on their locked-in Ether. At present, the minimum amount of Ether required to become a validator is 32, which is equivalent to roughly $5,200. Colin Myers, head of global product strategy at Consensus, the Brooklyn-based Ethereum venture studio, said validators with 32 Ethereum can expect to earn between 4.6 and 10.3% in annualized returns at the launch of the Ethereum 2.0 network. Myers announced it sounds like they're just doing a proof of stake fork. And they're just they're using the wrong semantics though, and intentionally to deceive you. Anyway, continuing. Myers announced during the recent Ethereum developer conference, DevCon, that he was building a user application enabling validators to calculate annual gross and net returns given varying costs of hardware and electricity. The Ethereum 2.0 calculator is being developed for protocol researchers, validators, and enthusiasts to increase transparency and education of the Ethereum 2.0 network economics, Myers said in a DevCon presentation. He plans to launch the web tool in conjunction with the launch of Ethereum 2.0, which is tentatively planned for the first quarter of 2020. Of course, current figures on validator rewards for Ethereum 2.0 are by no means set in stone, as the community itself is still debating the design parameters of the upgrade. Christy Lay Minehan, former CTO of blockchain and AI startup Core Scientific, who proposed the contentious Ethereum mining algorithm change ProgPow, said, These are proposed suggestions by Ethereum Research, but until we actually roll over to Ethereum 2.0, none of us will ever know for sure. They're constantly tweaking it right now. It can be pretty fluid. Myers said community input on the design of Ethereum 2.0 was imperative. Quote, "This is a topic that we will continue to jam on. It's not completed or ended yet," he said. There's been new things proposed by Vitalik Buterin that would change things if accepted by the community. What might be changing? One of the most recent proposals by Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin suggests a sharp reduction in the number of mini blockchains or shards in the initial phases of Ethereum 2.0 development. And we're gonna right click on that. Instead of launching the full network with 1,024 shards, Buterin proposes launching just 64, thereby improving cross-shard communication on the network. This proposal has been well received by researchers and protocol developers who say lowering the number of shards will reduce the network's complexity. By a reduction in shard count, a reduction in shard count means a lower number of validators and total stake needed to secure the Ethereum 2.0 network. By lowering the shard count, essentially you need to make some other trade-off, said Myers, adding, quote, "You're going to have to increase the power of the independent validators running on the network. It's a higher grade of hardware. It's going to be a bit more expensive for me to participate as a validator." With these caveats, Myers highlighted three important details about Ethereum 2.0's economic model that he doesn't see changing anytime soon. Targeted returns. According to Myers' calculations, validators on Ethereum 2.0 who have staked 32 Ethereum have the potential to earn 10.4% in annual interest, given the assumption the network launches with 2 million Ethereum staked. This 10.4% target return for validators is unlikely to change, even with only 1/16 of the shards originally envisioned for the network. However, net issuance, Myers' term, which takes account of hardware costs, will likely have to be updated. At launch, validators can expect to receive 5.6% of their stake in rewards. If they require a higher grade of hardware to run Ethereum 2.0 software, and there are only 64 shards, returns are likely to fall in value. Some say net returns will decrease by 20%, but those numbers aren't exact, and I haven't made my opinion on that yet, Myers said. Validators on a proof-of-stake blockchain like Ethereum 2.0 have a similar responsibility to that of miners on a proof of work blockchain. These actors on a blockchain serve to process transactions and append new blocks. The new model changes the emphasis from computation to control. Proof-of-work networks have external costs, such as computational power. Ensuring the honesty of actors on a proof-of-stake network are internal mechanisms, such as staked value. The more Ethereum people stake on Ethereum 2.0, the greater its level of security. The fewer shards there are in Ethereum 2.0, the fewer validators it needs to secure the overall network. Jacko Hellerin, CEO and founder of Ethereum scalability startup Scale Labs, said of this dynamic rewards model, quote, "On a high level, Ethereum 2.0 is trying to solve the elasticity as well as supply and demand issues of Ethereum. One real innovative and impactful thing about Ethereum 2.0 is its dynamic pricing." I wonder what that means. Crowd mentality. Following the launch of Ethereum 2.0, a greater number of validators will be needed to secure the Ethereum 2.0 network and ensure the honesty of all actors. Because of the first stage of deployment, called Phase 0, only introduces one proof-of-stake blockchain, the Beacon Chain. In a subsequent deployment stage, Phase 1, developers plan to launch 1,024 or 64 other proof-of-stake blockchains, known as shards. To secure all of the additional POS networks, Myers said a high number of validators and staked wealth will be needed in the system. As the overall staked wealth of the Ethereum 2.0 ecosystem grows, the lower the annualized reward becomes for each individual validator. The dynamic reward scheme in Ethereum 2.0 ensures that the network is never over or underpaying for its security. Yeah, bullshit. You don't get to make that fucking decision for Ethereum. Continuing on. Frederick Harrison, CTO of Ethereum software client Parity, told CoinDesk in April, quote, "There is a sliding scale of rewards that depends on how much Ethereum is locked up in stake. In a system where you have very small amounts of stake locked up, you want to encourage more people to stake and lock up more Ethereum to increase the security of the chain. The aim in Phase 1, according to Myers, will be to reduce reward issuance on 32 Ethereum for each validator to roughly 7.2% in interest and 2.39% in net profit. This is comparable to other staking networks such as Dash and Tezos, which return upwards of 5% interest annually. Annualized rewards for validators on Ethereum 2.0 depend on overall amount of wealth staked. Oh, it seems my program may be having an issue here. Oh, okay, never mind. Annualized rewards for validators on Ethereum 2.0 depend on overall amount of wealth staked as well as total percentage of validators online actively processing transactions. Should only 70% of validators be online at a given point in time in Ethereum 2.0 network, the interest rates drops from Myers' estimate of 7.2% to 5.8%, at least according to his calculations, assuming 1,024 shards. Ethereum 2.0 is a collective reward scheme. The more people online, the more everyone earns. The less online, the less people that are earning, Myers said. This is one of the design parameters of Ethereum 2.0 that is quite innovative and genius on the human level. It encourages getting people who don't know each other to collectively come together and do something, he says. Network issuance. Even in the ideal scenario of all validators staking 32 Ethereum in a 1,024 shard universe, The overall network issuance of Ether is designed to never exceed 1% supply growth annually. This is meant to guard against inflation and devaluation of purchasing power for the coin over time. That said, controlling Ethereum supply growth on the current Ethereum mainnet has been a persistent source of contention for the Ethereum community since launch in 2015. Unlike Bitcoin with the hard supply cap of 21 million Bitcoin, Ethereum's supply of Ether will continue to grow over time. Currently, inflation on Ethereum is approximately 4.5%, according to Ethereum information site ETHUB. Ethereum inflation rates have been as high as 18%, but have fallen significantly recently thanks to a series of system-wide upgrades called hard forks, where developers reduced block rewards issuance in 3 increments from 5 Ethereum per block at launch to 2 Ethereum per block now. The latest reduction from 3 Ethereum to 2 Ethereum was a compromise among Ethereum stakeholders who presented conflicting proposals for reducing block rewards. In Ethereum 2.0, the new monetary policies are designed to ensure a consistent level of inflation below 1% and therefore a steady Ethereum in the long run. Of course, all of these metrics are subject to revision as developers execute hard forks. Quote, in the early days of this system, we're going to hard fork a bunch. This is healthy because it means we're squashing old ideas and innovating new ideas, Myers said. Yeah, we're baiting and switching. The more we fork, the healthier it means we are. Yeah, a bunch of bullshit. The more you're forking, the more you're trying to deceive people. A fork in real terms, it's exchanging one permission set for another. It could be an expansion of permissions and capabilities, and it could be a reduction of permissions and capabilities. And of course, it could be a complete alteration of function. You know, we saw that with Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash. We saw that with Ethereum to Ethereum Classic. Although Ethereum Classic, their reason to fork was more, how should I put it? It was more principled. You know, it was more a variance in principles between the Ethereum Association, the people running Ethereum, and a significant portion of the miners, and a good percentage of the community. You know, we signed up for things that are what they are. You know, we didn't sign up to use Bitcoin as some sort of fucking Swift 2.0. We signed up for something where you download a wallet, you receive your funds to the wallet, and then you spend your funds from the wallet. And you spend it with whomever, whenever you want. And ever since then, there have been several attempts to change exactly that. That, you know, things like they want to change the ability for you to permanently record your transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain. They want to put the state of your transactions up in question. And I will admit, you know, there's some great possibilities with Lightning Network and all that bullshit. There's plenty of possibilities for it. The problem is that the way off-chain things function with regard to Lightning Network, they put the trust question up in the air again. The possibility for an adversarial actor to come in from multiple points and gank the funds is there, where it normally wouldn't be in a Bitcoin transaction. So yeah, you know, I think that we're going to continue to learn this lesson over and over again, that governance of these cryptocurrencies is up to the miners. But who the miners are, how the mining operates, these all are ruling factors. Like they're talking about it would make it more expensive to mine Ethereum, and you would be doing it proof of stake instead of proof of work, right? Well, any kind of change in those metrics, it changes the viability in the eyes of the miners, where they're looking at it and they're saying, you know what, I could probably earn a hell of a lot more money if I just move my support and my monetary value over to the Ethereum Classic network and get past all this proof of stake bullshit. I said it a long time ago that if people wanted to mine a proof of stake coin, during the time Ethereum launched, there were a bazillion and one proof of stake coins that have since died. And it was because people didn't want to use them. Now Dash, they've been really smart. And during that boom time, they weren't sitting around on their laurels or doing boats and hoes and on the money that they made on their coins. They went down to Venezuela, Bolivia, all over the fucking place down in South and Central America and abroad, and tried to get themselves incorporated as a monetary means of payment, a means of payment for a wide variety of different businesses. And I think it's those kind of pursuits that are going to pay off in the longer term. That, trying to put the focus on changing what it is that you're doing and forking. I mean, why am I going to use Ethereum to pay for anything if all it does is fork? Oh, we're changing the rules again. It's proof of butt now. Not even proof of stake, proof of butt. You gotta post a picture of your butt and then proof. I don't know where I was going with that, but the point being that we should not be making really arbitrary decisions like something like the network that we're mining. I think that people that talk like that, they have no idea what they're even talking about. They have no idea what these networks are for. They have no reason to be here other than, it's innovation. We get to play with software. We get to piss away people's money while we sit in front of a computer and think about doing work. But those are the people that end up flipping burgers in 2 years. I'm sorry, bro. That's where you're going to be. In 2 years, whatever it is that you're working on will have shown that it doesn't have enough market appeal to be sustainable, and you'll be flipping burgers. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And where to go? I don't have any songs about flipping burgers. What a shame. But I do have some songs about flipping your dome over. And so here it is. White Zombie, Black Sunshine, here on Coin Metal. And that was Sixth with Bland Street Bloom. Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember this, but on Monday we were talking about Tether and how they'd been taking some Tether off the market. Let me see if I can find that, because recently Bitcoin just went through a big jump. And see, I've been saying for a long time now that I believe Tether has been used to steal the value on Bitcoin, to devalue Bitcoin, that I believe that it's been used to naked short sell Bitcoin. Anyway, let me see if I can find this here. Tether 600 million gone? No. Damn it. trying to find it recently. It's something recent. It's within a week. Let's see here. Tether. Damn it! I wish I could find that that story about it. Tether catching up with Bitcoin payments. Controversial Bitcoin gains popularity. 12% on Tron. No. Tether mints 16 million. Blah blah. Tether mints 30 million after blank 1 day ago. Gaining much traction. Damn it! I'm trying to find this thing where it was saying that they're actually taking Tether offline or getting them out of circulation. Oh, let's see. Circulation. Let me see if I can find it under that. Come on, search for it. Find it. Tether. Yeah, here we go. This is October 18th. Now, if you think about it in terms of how much Tether there was in circulation, this would be approximately 1/4 of their total volume. Now, if they were being used, as I suggest, that they've been used when they bring them online to naked short sell Bitcoin, if they have less circulating into the market, that ability goes down, right? So anyway, because I think the way that they would do it, that only one trade would in fact be free, right? And that would be the one where they're circulating the Tether into the market and exchanging them for Bitcoin. Anyway, continuing on, this is on ccn.com. Tether has yanked 610 million out of circulation this month. Oh, wait. Oh, never mind. This is October 19th, 2018. Damn it, Jim. I was hoping it was recent. Let's see here. Let's go to 24 hours and see if it'll... No. I guess they moved 100 million out of circulation on one network and moved it over to Tron. That's interesting. Glad I bought some Tron. I know friends don't let friends buy Tron, but I bought some, and so far I'm making money on it, so I can't complain. Anyway, yeah, this is 15 hours ago. This is by Helen Parts, so no penis. Nearly 12% of all Tether is now on Tron after 100 million chain swap. The amount of Tether tokens issued on Tron blockchain now accounts for nearly 12% of all USDT tokens, 350 million to 450 million in one day. Launched in April 2019, TRC20 based USDT has hit a total supply of over 490 million tokens on October 25th, which now makes up as much as 12% of the 4.1 million Tether tokens currently in circulation, according to TronScan. Interesting. Let's see, total supply is 490 million, 589,000 change, 610. Tier 20 based, blah, blah, blah. The new total supply milestone resulted following the addition of 100 million new TRC20 based USDT tokens, as the Tron Foundation confirmed on October 25th. More 40 million USDT from a new swap. Subsequently, tracking service Whale Alert reported another large transaction of TRC20 based USDT on October 25th. It noted that 40 million new USDT, 40.2 million, was minted at the Tether Treasury. Bitfinex CTO Paulo Ardoino elaborated on the transaction, is a result of a chain swap from Ethereum's ERC20 tokens to Tron. A chain swap is a process that moves cryptocurrencies from one blockchain to another. As Tether specified, quote, "This process allows traders to obtain access to the various blockchains that support the cryptocurrency they are holding, thereby enabling the use of their digital assets on these other supporting blockchains." In mid-September, Tether minted 300 million USDT in a swap from Bitcoin-based tokenization protocol Omni to Ethereum. Before launching TRC20-based USDT on April 16th, Tron and Tether first announced their partnership for the initiative in early March 2019. Interesting. So I gotta wonder whether that Tether story I read was actually from 2018 the other day. I don't think it was, though, because I found it somewhere on my Twitter feed, but that again, it could have been a mistake. But yeah, so I'm sure this has something to do, at least, with the 30% jump that's happened on Bitcoin today. But Ethereum's took a 17% jump. That's pretty good. And Bitcoin Cash 26%, not bad at all. Too bad I don't have any anymore. But we got to sell sometime, right? Usually in times of distress and necessity. Anyway, so I dug out a bunch of articles, and this one is for the for Ethereum. Ethereum targets December 4th for Istanbul mainnet activation. Yeah, whether or not that will actually happen remains to be seen. But this is again by Christine Kim, so no penis. October 25th, 2019 at 1955 UTC. Ethereum's next system-wide upgrade, Istanbul, is scheduled to arrive on mainnet the week of December 4th. The decision was made during an Ethereum core developer call on October 25th. Later on Friday, Dan O'Farron, blockchain protocol... You know what? Let's right-click that. Blockchain protocol engineer at Ethereum Venture Studio Consensus proposed activating Istanbul at block number 9,056,000 in accordance with the targeted date of December 4th. Quote, "From when I calculated at 14-second block times, it's 245,544.5 blocks, which puts noon UTC at block 9,055,928.5. So I would propose 9,056,000 as the Istanbul mainnet block target. Please check my math," Farron wrote after the meeting in an Ethereum core developers chat room. During the call, devs also agreed that in the case of any unexpected issues with the upgrade software between now and the week of December 4th, Istanbul's mainnet activation would be delayed 1 month to January 8th. Quote, "The thing about January 8th backstop date is that if we're going to ship and change the time, we have to build a new client and get everyone to install the client," Farron said during the call. "At least 4 weeks for a respin is necessary." During the last system-wide upgrade, Constantinople, Ethereum developers did indeed need to delay mainnet activation of the upgrade for a month due to a critical code vulnerability discovered just 48 hours before Constantinople's scheduled rollout. This time, Ethereum core developers are covering all their bases with predetermined backstop dates in the event of any unforeseen circumstances. Said Ethereum Foundation developer Piper Miriam, quote, "There's nothing here that says we can't launch the first week of December. We're just setting some easy backstop dates now, and we can always change our mind later if needed." What's going into Istanbul? Come December, Istanbul is expected to introduce 6 backwards incompatible code changes to the world's second largest blockchain network. Actually, it's the largest blockchain network by volume. Anyway, continuing on. The most controversial among them, known as Ethereum Improvement Proposal EIP 1884, will increase the computational costs of recalling data about the Ethereum blockchain for application developers. At the same time, the increased fees will better safeguard the $18 billion platform from potential denial of service or spam attacks. The other code changes introduce more pricing adjustments to the Ethereum platform, as well as new code operations that application developers can leverage to verify and authenticate blockchain data more quickly. Last month, Istanbul was activated on the Ethereum test network Ropsten. Due to its premature timing, however, miners on the network initially faced difficulty rolling out the upgrade. To prevent further confusion over which version of the Ethereum software to run for miners, the users who validate transactions and process new blocks on the network, Ethereum core developers approved today a new code change called EIP 2124, fork IDs and fork coordinators. Originally proposed in May by Ethereum core developers Peter Szilagyi and Felix Lang, EIP 2124 introduces a mechanism for users to easily identify what version of the software a computer server, also called a node, in the Ethereum network is running. Quote, generally, clients have a hard time following a non-majority chain, so you usually have to tweak the clients manually to make sure they're on the right chain, said Szilagyi, adding, quote, all these issues can be fixed by including the fork ID. Called the fork identifier, Szilagyi explained on the call that EIP 2124 is, quote, tiny and beyond trivial change. It can be rolled out by any Ethereum software client without the need for coordination with other actors. Outside of this, James Hancock, project lead at Ethereum startup ETH Signals, who most notably tried to initiate a fork of the Ethereum blockchain in June, announced that he was joining the Ethereum Foundation to help coordinate Ethereum system-wide upgrades, also called hard forks. I'm joining the Ethereum Foundation to help with hard fork coordination, said Hancock. For me, I want to focus on getting EIPs ready rather than focus on when we are going to release an upgrade. It's about changing the attitude from how many forks are we going to have this year to getting EIPs ready for a fork. Yeah, more like putting the arm on miners to get them to change. I want to do something here. Let's see here. Ethereum node count, and then by implementation. Yeah, there we go. Ethereum Node Explorer. Okay. Let's see here. Full node implementation. Introducing getting nodes. Has CDS 1 terabyte. Starting line. Blah blah blah. Scaling and blah blah blah. What are types of nodes? What are the types of nodes? I want to find out how many fucking nodes there are and what variant of Ethereum they're running. Here we go. So Geth is running, there's 5,200 nodes running that. Okay. View all. Now we got that actually. Let's look at Geth. And let's see. And it only tells us get client versions. Okay. It doesn't tell us the version though. Or no, it does. 1.9.6 has 20.2% of the network. And then 1.8.23 has 928. Okay. That's interesting. I'm just looking over the different versions of software they have running here, and it seems like the vast majority of people are running 1.9.6, which is not the newest client. Let's see here, 1.8. Wow. But there's people running all kinds of different versions. I'm seeing like all the way down to like 1.7.2. There's 5 nodes running that right now. Now, why they're running it, I don't know. I would be really interested in talking to an Ethereum miner about this. And let's see, network types. Hosting residential, business, cellular, college. Okay. Yeah, about 0.76% of their network is from colleges. Interesting. Hosting is the vast majority of their network, though. So that let me look at hosting, because you know what that tells me? Holy shit, the vast majority of their network is other people's networks. And when I say other people's networks, I don't mean people like you and me. People talk about like the institutionalization of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Let me point out something here. I'm looking at Ethereum's own statistics from their mainnet, right? Right now, 34% of the hashing power on their proof of work right now is coming from Amazon, and this is 34% of 69% of their network. 69% of their network is from hosted services. So here, Amazon.com, Alibaba comes in at second with 865 nodes. They're at 16.77% of the network. And then, let's see, Hangzhou, Alibaba, Advertising Co., there are another 345 nodes. So if you count that together, Alibaba accounts for about 25% of that 69% that we were talking about. Then Google Cloud's in there. Hetzner Online Gambling, I guess they're a gambling house. They're about 6% of that 69%. DigitalOcean, Microsoft Corporation. Oh, there's another one in here that's Amazon. Let's see. Yeah, so these are all. Let's see, Hawaii. That cell phone developer that I guess they're blocked from the United States. Tencent Cloud Computing's in there. So yeah, they have a whole bunch of hosted servers that comprise the vast majority of their network. So I would wager what this is telling me right here is that the vast majority of Ethereum's network fell off when the fork happened. All of the like regular proof of work miners, they went away. And so basically people have been, setting up hosted services and just mining from there, and they've been accounting for the vast majority of Ethereum's network. And so, I mean, that's cool, but I don't know. I think that increases the probability that
like the hosting and the other ones could be commingled. So like we've got business, cellular, college, government, and traveler. Although government only represents, what is that, 0.3%? That's not very much. They've got 2 nodes. But anyway, I don't know. I think that the whole count is only 7,300, and that's another thing, that in the not so distant future, when cryptocurrencies do take on as currencies for a majority of people, or more people than now, I expect these numbers to change vastly. That we're not going to be talking about 7,300 nodes. Part of Ethereum's problem is that they don't have enough network participation for the diversity and scale and type of different projects that are affixed onto the Ethereum network. In order to keep track of all of that shit, they need a much bigger network, and to be able to do it in a more efficient manner, especially with all this sharding bullshit. So their problem really is one of not enough people are participating in it. Although I am looking at this, in residential accounts for the second highest percentage of their network. So that's a good sign. But see, this too is numbers that will change. Okay, that right now, this is how it's set up. But there's kind of an evolution for miners. A lot of people do start off with just hosting services. And they do it because, of course, the electricity and all that is a lot cheaper because they don't have to pay for any of that crap. They just dedicate the computing power that they're renting to mining, and that's fine. But see, what they do with it is this. When there's an uptick in the value of Ethereum, they'll take their Ethereum, they'll cash it out, and they'll buy miners. And they'll start mining themselves. And this node count is going to flip vastly. See, I think as the necessity increases for using cryptocurrencies in everyday things, China's government is talking about embracing cryptocurrencies. I would imagine that their node count will increase vastly if they're envisioning their participation in cryptocurrencies being a thing. That the number for government nodes is going to spike vastly. I also expect that the number for individual nodes, residential nodes, I expect a flippening, where we're going to see enough people that are interested in using Ethereum as money instead of all the bullshit that they're stacking onto it. In addition to, they've got I don't know how many thousands of projects built on top of them, but a lot, Anyway, I think the likelihood is that rather than them going to proof of stake, because they're trying to account for the discrepancy between the number of nodes they actually need to support the type of network that they're trying to do on proof of work, and what's actually on the network right now, it is so vast that they need to go to proof of stake just to be able to do it. And because there's a lot of difference with regard to the structure of the network. You don't need as much computing power for proof of stake. That's what I'm getting to. And a lot of cryptocurrencies have envisioned this transition to solve this problem. And I think that the problem that is happening is that these people did not pay attention during the time that we were experiencing a crypto drought, or a drought in interest. the chart for Bitcoin, if you look at it from beginning to right now, you see that it's gone through several waves. Well, altcoins have jumped into that cycle of waves. And it's a little bit different for for altcoins, and there are more bumps in the road for altcoins along the way. But the fact of the matter is that there was already two very large lulls in this market. And there will be some in the future too, but we're in a lull right now. And so the priority should be on making the network that you have work the way that you need it to work, or that your clients or your users need it to work. But Ethereum transitioning to proof of stake, to me, you're making an entirely separate product. They've got the vast majority of their network is from hosting services. And so the ability to be nimble with what version of the software you're running is a lot better when it's somebody else's hardware. It's just a virtualized instance of the miner. And so, nonetheless, it does require that the miners actually do it. And like I said, I think that the evolution of miners being what it is, and we've seen this before. There have been hosting services that were dedicated specifically to cryptocurrency mining, like ghash.io. They rented out a lot of hashing power, and there's still the same with certain mining pools. But nonetheless, I think that in the longer term, the average user is going to be your next door neighbor. The average miner is going to be your next door neighbor. And there's going to be a necessity for it. There's going to be a reason for it. See, all of these miners using hosted services, while it's a good stepping stone, the best stepping stone is your own hardware. Because the fact of the matter is that it is somebody else's hardware. Somebody else who at some point or another could say, I know you want to run version 1.8.3, but it's not government compliant. So we're going to make you run 1.9.7, and we'll tell you you're running another version. And the only way you're going to know for certain which version you're running is for it to be your hardware that you are hosting in your home. And that's pretty much how this shit was intended to be. Until the dependency, the necessity for things to be as people say they are, and for things to work as they've been sold as, is so high that there's trillions of dollars worth of fucking monetary value stored in it, or records that have been transacted in it, that we have no choice pretty much but to stay the path, right? That's when that transition is supposed to happen, when we're going to start seeing more commercial involvement. But we haven't really hit that yet. And the fact of the matter is that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are like a burning fuse. And so this to me, it exemplifies the possibility that in the future people will transition to new cryptocurrencies entirely. They'll move their monetary value onto a new altcoin that is proof of work, that does what they want it to do, what they need it to do. Assuming, of course, that none of the available options can do it. And continue on into the future. And that's really how I see this market. How I see it maturing. Like, we started talking with Chinese President Xi, or Premier, or whatever their leader's designation is. I don't know what it is. Anyway,
their position on cryptocurrencies has changed vastly over time. And there's reason for this. It's because no matter how hard they bang that fucking gavel on the desk, they can't get people to comply. No matter how many doors they break down or how many illegal mining operations they break up, they can't get it all. Not all of it is within their borders, and not all owners actually have to be mining. You know, they could have mined the Bitcoin and then sent it to a relative, and you can bust them, but still not be able to get a hold of the Bitcoin, right? And so, this being the reality, there's no actual physical transfer of money going on. The money could be anywhere. It could be anywhere on Earth. You could send it to a friend in Australia. You would never even know. Or the Philippines. You know, they might be going on vacation later in the Philippines and then get the money. You know, and you would never know. But this is the world that we're living in right now. And so rather than concentrating on trying to stop people from doing that, start taking advantage of the fact that it can be done. When you put it into that kind of perspective, that the fact that anybody can do it, right? It's like, well, then why aren't we doing it? Well, fuck, you know? I mean, we can get some gain out of doing it. Venezuela has already shown us. They have started stacking sats. Their central bank has recommended stacking sats. And like I said, they're like a test net where we get to watch the entire evolution of government policy and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in one little test pool. That's where it's going. That's how it is going to express everywhere. And I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it will break down. And I've said this a lot. I've said it about fucking Zimbabwe. I said it when Greece had their thing. They all go through an evolution where first they want to stop it, then they want to embrace it, then they want their own cryptocurrency, and then they figure out they can't get people to mine it and or transact in it, and people just stick with using cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and the project goes to the shitter. It's like it's almost predictable. You know, I mean, it's almost like the only thing that changes is the duration of status. You know, where like you know, they might get some sort of reliable level of regulatory compliance, right? And then they might try to overemphasize compliance, you know, enforcement on that. And then what will happen is somebody will innovate around it and start over again. You know, and right now the primary iteration is stablecoins, where people are fantasizing about coming out with their own stablecoin. But that one, I think, is coming to an end. And we talked about that last time with FinCEN. I think if there's any organization that is going to be hammering down, first it's going to be the SEC and then FinCEN. Or it might be the other way around. That FinCEN will hit you, and then when it's found that you're not in regulatory compliance because the SEC is regulating quote-unquote stablecoins, managed stablecoins, then they sick the SEC on you. But yeah, that change of status with regard to managed stablecoins. All stablecoins are managed. All of them have issuers and managers, and none of them have provided more than attestations. Not a single one of them have ever provided an actual audit verifying the provenance of their collateral. But I think that's going to be the clincher, where we're going to see the SEC start trying to regulate stablecoins as securities, which they should, because it is pretty much the only thing in crypto that represents any kind of security. It's got an issuer. The issuer has a rate of exchange that they've established with the market. Getting the market to honor it, though, I think it's kind of interesting. It's a little bit of mind control, really, because again, they have never shown anybody the stack of money that says, that, and this is our $3 billion that we're issuing tokens against. There's never been that. There's never going to be that, because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist until they sell the Bitcoin that they bought with it on a complicit exchange, and then sold those Bitcoin for dollars, made the exchange whole, and did the process all over again. And see, I think there's a little bit of overlap. I think that if one were to really study deeply in Tether, that they would find that there are overlapping. There's periods where certain tokens are represented on multiple blockchains, and that transactions are actually happening with the same funds on different blockchains before the mind meld or whatever is complete. Rather than an actual transition of 50 million Tether from the Ethereum blockchain over to the Tron blockchain, that first they create 50 and at Tether, right, and then put those on the Tron blockchain, and then delete the ones on the Ethereum blockchain. But that there's a period where those same funds are represented by tokens, live tokens, on multiple blockchains. See, I think that's the more likelihood, that they're not actually doing any hocus pocus fucking magic fucking transfer of wealth from one blockchain to another. Although it's entirely possible. It's entirely possible. Rather than doing that, though, what they're actually doing is they create 50 million fictitious tokens. They exchange them with somebody for the Tron, or the equivalent of Tron, or they tie up the equivalent of Tron, or however the mechanism works in putting their transactions on the Tron network and making their Tron-based tokens, right? That they do that first, and they start trading with those tokens, and then they terminate the ones on the other blockchain next. And they probably have them on multiple blockchains at any one time. Because, they've got Bitcoin tokens still. They've got Ethereum-based tokens. They've got Tron-based tokens. So for all we know, like $30 million or so is on multiple blockchains. Same $30 million. And it's being used to manipulate the market to our detriment. But anyway, like I was saying, I really think that in the longer term, we're going to see those get rinsed out by regulatory compliance. Because again, Bitcoin was designed to work as it does for specific reasons. It was designed to, in and of itself, be able to navigate around all of the existing regulatory frameworks. And it did that by eliminating the need for third parties, such as issuers of Tether and other quote-unquote stablecoins. These are third parties, regardless of what fucking network they're really happening on, or they're doing their transactions on. They're third parties, unnecessary in cryptocurrencies. And so I think in the longer term that these unnecessary entities will cease to be, that the regulatory cruft and friction that they experience will make them not valuable versus just using the straight networks and the straight currencies themselves. That the additional regulatory friction they experience, they have to charge you in order to pay for. It will cost them money to keep all of the transactions that keep track of all the transactions that you do with them. They need to keep track of all those incidences so that they can report them to the SEC or the FDIC or the who fucking ever regulatory body that's regulating them. And that costs money. Hiring somebody to tend the network, or at least put the recordings or the logs or the whatever up on their fucking hosted services with it, Amazon, it costs money. Regulatory compliance costs money. And so invariably they need to charge you money to offset that cost. So it is by default more expensive than you doing the transaction with your own independent wallet. That's by design. And it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We'll be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And as far as our last dance is concerned, I have not picked one out. Feeling a little bit of Doyle. Headhunter, Last Dance, here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent weekend. Good night.